Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on Thursday, March 29th, 11:29 p.m. Mountain Time 2018. You're looking at the GFS total snowfall in inches through April 9th. This will be the third week of spring for North America, and the model is showing heavy snow falling especially after the 5th of April across all of northern North America. Let's just pause it real quick and take a look. Nebraska, where they should be planting, is going to be buried in 15 more inches of snow, up to 18 inches in some places, on April 9th. And the agricultural report shows the soil temperatures in this upper region well below planting temperature. And this is what we're looking at for the next 10 days. In some areas, up to 32 inches of snow here in northwestern Wyoming. Western Montana is going to continue to get hammered, breaking all-time records for one season event. And we're going to be watching this closely. Winter storm warnings and winter weather watches and advisories up in these northern tiers: Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota, northern Montana. You got fog watches, flood advisories. We got flood watches here in the Ohio, West Virginia border, as well as in the Mississippi Valley. There's going to be an uptick in weather over the week. Heavy rain will continue in parts of the east, with winter weather in the northern plains. The potential for flash flooding will continue across eastern Mississippi River Valley into Friday, and the system will slowly move east, generating rain along the east coast through Friday evening. Meanwhile, an area of winter weather will move over the plains on Friday, with potential for snow along the U.S. and Canadian border from the eastern Rockies to the Great Lakes. Severe weather hit Texas today. Heavy rainfall, floods, and tornadoes, destroying homes. March 28th and 29th, on Wednesday afternoon, heavy rain turned roads into rivers on the campus of Texas A&M. In addition, 7 people were rescued after a second-story home was blown off by a possible tornado. Poor winter wheat conditions worrying Kansas farmers. Guys, this doesn't look good. Nearly half of all winter wheat growing in Kansas is in poor or very poor condition, as compared to 17% this time last year. The 49% of poor condition wheat, as reported by the Ag Statistics Service, may not be salvageable. And you just saw the GFS model. Arctic blast set to invade the prairies Friday and the weekend. One of the coldest air masses ever seen in late March will sweep into the prairies Thursday and Friday. Heads up, Brent. Well below average temperatures expected in Manitoba. Northern Alberta braces for bitter cold amid warnings of -40 overnight. That's a boom. -40 overnight. Heads up, Fort McMurray. In face of drought, Portugal officials set priority to provide drinking water. That's because this is a river. This is the level of the water where it should be. Oh my. Heads up, Portugal. Sky turns orange after biblical sandstorm engulfs southern Egypt. We had a rare event, and then we had a second rare event, and now the third event in a week is biblical. This is just amazing. Look at the giant dust storm. It just engulfed Egypt. Look at the pictures there. I'm not making this up. Look at this wind front. We're going to get a picture of that. Whew. A huge wall of sand engulfed many provinces on the 28th. If you weren't aware this was coming, you certainly would think the hand of God was at work. Look at the shots. The visibility inside the sandstorm was almost zero in southern Egypt. Run for the hills. Look, there's a guy taking a selfie down there. I knew it. Where's the selfie guy? You guys saw it. There he is. Earthquake off Papua New Guinea, registering at 7.2 initially by USGS, downgraded to 6.9, sparked local tsunami warnings. I popped that up on Solar Shutdown today as I was headed out the door. I got an alert on my phone, and they've downgraded to 6.9. Luckily, it's in an unpopulated area for the most part. There were no immediate reports of casualties or damage. But the Indonesia region is rocking. Tokyo hit by a 5.3 as buildings shake in the Japan capital. A slew of residents to express worries on social media. This is fear-mongering by not so good information source right there. Let's take a look at the seismic uptick here. Mostly in the western ring of fire. And we have a series of aftershocks in that region. Anyone's there is probably very scared. Good news, Investors Business Daily. The climate change doomsday just got canceled. A new study published in the prestigious journal Nature finds that all those global warming doomsday scenarios are not credible. Thank you. Thank you very much. Someone is savvy. The study published Thursday finds that CO2 in the atmosphere doubled. The global temperatures would climb almost by 3.4 degrees C, thus far below what the UN has been saying for decades. So, although these people are still filled with shite, they're getting closer to the truth. And someday, there'll be a loud popping noise, and their heads will appear above their necks. With cosmic ray flux increasing over the next 2 years, we're going to see worldwide events unseen ever in human history. And as the waning magnetosphere adds insult to injury, allowing more cosmic rays to penetrate than suspected, the fun will begin, folks. You should start preparing now, because the meek shall inherit the earth. That means you got to be a farmer. Let's talk about 40 new scientific papers that say global warming does not exist, and we'll get onto a quick space weather update. There's the king dogmatist there in his green velour jacket. Hundreds of scientists involved in 40 recent papers say the scare about global warming is based on hysteria and false science. You'll get links to every single one of the papers. And you'll also see how the temperature for the last 1,000 years has been basically flat. We've got large coronal holes on the north and the south of our disk. And no, the sun didn't flip, folks. And the pole of the Earth, the rotational pole, is not going to flip either. This is a test, and it is not the sun flipping. There is no sun simulator, but there is a large plasmasphere 1 million times the volume of the Earth, and it has a new region of interest. Take a look at the limb here. Right here. There are solar flares being exploded off of this region. Come right back here. Boom. Right there. See it again. Boom. Right there. And there's no spaceship out here sucking up energy from the sun either. So, we have a new region rotating around the limb there. You can see it very clearly. This is a sunspot. We've had 10 spotless days and no longer, because here we have flares in the B range. 2 of them, boom, boom, followed by a minor B 12 hours ago. So this is a very active spot. We're going to see what it does as it turns the limb. We've had a shift in the phi angle here, which means that those coronal holes are coupling again. And as predicted, when that occurs, the plasma speed increases. So we have a slight density increase, speed increase, and that's due to the coronal holes coupling. So we should be going up in KP. We've come off the deck of 0 here, and we're now up in the 2 range. We could get up to KP4 by tomorrow because of this coronal hole. We'll be watching it. But that's really not what interests us, guys. What interests us is this spot that's turning around the limb here that looks very active, sending off these flares, and we're going to be watching it heavily. This baby is active. Look at it. It's like the 4th of July. So we're going to be watching it closely. Come over to Solarham. There it is right there. There's a coronal hole right behind it. So if we do have geomagnetic activity in the event of a solar storm because of a flare event, it's going to be coupled with a coronal hole event. So this could be a double geomagnetic event in our future, looking 14 to 21 days out for that if it causes a problem. Let's talk about magnetic reversals and variation. I'm going to give you all the information you need. Most people in the mainstream are taught, including geologists when they go to university, that the last magnetic reversal was back here where I'm pointing here at Brunus Machuma. The Matayama reversal is not the last magnetic reversal. You can clearly see magnetic field strength here being represented up and down and up and down. It almost looks like the temperature graph. But this is, in fact, the magnetic field strength extrapolated through proxy, where you can see the Jamaica Pringle Falls magnetic excursion, the Blake magnetic excursion, the Lashchamp magnetic excursion, the Calabrian Ridge West Eiffel excursion, the Big Lost Emperor excursion, the La Palma excursion, the Delta excursion, and so on, and every other unnamed excursion. So the magnetic field flips about every 11,500 years, according to Robert Felix. And according to the data here, it moves all over the place at different periodicities. Here we are up here. It's about to flip again. Not the pole. The rotational pole is going to stay put. The sun is not going to raise in a different side of the earth. The sun will always rise in the east and set in the west as long as you live. But what will happen is mass extinction and a proliferation of new species, maybe beginning during your lifetime. And here you can see the magnetic moment on the left here of our magnetic field strength since 1850. It actually dropped off prior to this. We'll look at some of those graphs. So here's 1850 peaking 2,000 to 4,000 years ago, dropping off in a magnetic excursion to 6,000 to 7,000 years before present, back up and down again to 11.5. So the field strength clearly goes up and down, and we're headed way down into a unique period. So is the field changing? Yes. Can we measure it? Yes. Are they giving you information about this in the mainstream? Not really. What does it mean for human health, life? It means if you're not preparing now, you're not going to be ready for the future. That's all I can say. Please watch the last 437 videos I made on this topic to glean more insight. Let's talk about the space station that's about to re-enter on Sunday. I've got a map for you. There is a very high probability it's going to hit North America, Northern Africa, Spain even, maybe parts of Eastern Europe and this whole central region of Asia. You can see the probability here in the peaks over here, population density. The furthest northern reaches here is going to be the South Dakota southern boundary in North America, but anywhere south of there is game, and anywhere like we're talking the most populated regions of the earth. This thing is going to be dropping in on Sunday, and we are definitely going to get coverage of it. So heads up for everyone listening, and keep an eye to the sky. Eyes open, no fear. This baby's coming in. It'll probably mostly burn up, but maybe a larger chunk could hit Earth. We all remember Skylab if we're as old as I am. Guys, I hope you got something out of the video. Times are changing. The magnetosphere is waning. The sunspots are very sparse. We have one coming around the limb, which could wreak havoc if it does send some geomagnetic activity our way. So we'll be watching it. But we have 2 more years to keep a close eye on the sun because shields are down, cosmic rays are up, the weather is changing, and the narrative will be changing as we go. Crop losses are imminent, and I just showed you the report on winter wheat. It does not look good. 3 times worse than last year. Are you listening, Christian? Put that on the crop loss map. Be safe, everybody.